A 6-year-old girl walked into a Mafia boss's bar and begged him to attend her murdered mother's funeral. Nobody else was coming. The door creaked open. Every man in the room turned. Hands moved toward waistbands, guns ready, fingers on triggers. And then they saw her, a little girl in a pink dress. Tears streaming down her face, clutching a crumpled envelope like her life depended on it. She was shaking. But she didn't run. Christian Milani set down his whiskey. His men looked at him for orders. Shoot? Grab her? Throw her out? He said nothing. The girl took a step forward. Her white shoes were scuffed, dirty. She'd walked a long way to get here. My name is Lily Adams. Her voice trembled. My mommy was Amanda Adams, and I need your help. Christian's chest tightened. He knew that name. Amanda Adams. The waitress found dead in an alley 2 weeks ago. Everyone said she saw something she shouldn't have, something involving the Castellano family. The cops called it robbery. The streets knew the truth. What are you doing here, little one? Christian asked. His voice was calm. His eyes were not. Lily pulled out a photograph from her envelope. Christian stopped breathing. It was him, and Amanda. Outside some restaurant years ago, her smiling, him looking guarded, younger, hardened. On the back, in faded handwriting, if anything happens to me, find this man. He owes me. Christian's jaw tightened. He didn't remember owing anyone. If you're still watching, hit the like button, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. My mommy kept this hidden, Lily whispered. She said you were the only person scary enough to help. Christian looked at this child. 6 years old, standing in a room full of killers, holding proof of a debt he didn't understand. Help you with what? Lily's lip quivered. My mommy's funeral is Saturday. Nobody's coming. The room went cold. The bad people who hurt her, Lily continued. They told everyone. If anyone shows up, they'll hurt them too. She wiped her nose with the back of her hand. The funeral home called. Only 2 people signed up. The priest and me. Her voice cracked. My mommy was good. She helped people even when she was scared, and now she's going to be buried with nobody there, just me. Christian felt something shift in his chest. Something he'd buried a long time ago. He looked at his men. Hardened criminals. Killers. Fathers. Marco, he said quietly. Take her to the back. Get her something to eat. Boss, now. Marco led Lily toward the back office. She looked over her shoulder, her tear-streaked face catching the dim light. Will you come? She asked. Christian didn't answer. The moment the door closed, the room erupted. You can't be serious, Sal snapped. We show up to that funeral, the Castellanos will call it war. The kid's mother is dead and no one's coming, Enzo shot back. That's wrong. Period. She's not our problem, another man said. The Castellanos killed her. They'll kill anyone who mourns her. You want that on us? Christian stood still. He was staring at the photograph. Something about it was pulling at him. A memory. A voice on the phone years ago. He made a call. I need everything on Amanda Adams, specifically 2019, the Castellano ambush. He hung up. 1 minute later, his phone buzzed. Christian read the message. His face changed. 2019, he said slowly. The night the Castellanos tried to kill me, 3 of my men died. I survived because someone called in an anonymous tip. Sal frowned. We never found out who. Christian held up Amanda's photograph. It was her. Silence. She saved my life, Christian said, and I never knew. Now her 6-year-old daughter is sitting in my office asking me to make sure she's not buried alone. He looked around the room. How many of you have mothers? No one spoke. How many of you would want yours buried in an empty cemetery because the whole city was too scared to show up? Still nothing. The Castellanos think they run this city, Christian said. They think they can murder a woman and threaten anyone who mourns her. He straightened his jacket. They're about to learn what happens when they threaten the wrong funeral. He turned to Marco. Call everyone, every soldier, every associate, every ally who owes us. I want 200 men in suits at that funeral. Sal hesitated. And the Castellanos? Christian's smile didn't reach his eyes. Let them come. Marco reached toward Lily the moment she stepped into the back office. All right, kid. Don't touch her. Christian's voice cut the room in half. He walked toward Lily slowly, each step echoing. The entire bar held its breath. Christian crouched down, ignoring the stains on the floor, ignoring the looks from his men. Up close, Lily looked even smaller. Her pink dress was wrinkled. Her curls were matted. Her fingers trembled around the envelope. But her eyes, her terrified, determined eyes, never left Christian's face. Tell me what happened, he asked softly. My mommy. She got hurt, Lily whispered. The police said bad men did it. And the funeral? Saturday. Her lip quivered. But nobody's coming. Everyone's scared. The neighbors, Mommy's friends, even the police. She looked down. I don't have anyone else. No grandma, no aunts, no daddy, just me. Her voice thinned into a whisper. But Mommy told me something once. She said there was one man in this city the bad men were scared of. One man dangerous enough to protect people when nobody else could. Christian didn't move. She said his name was Christian Milani. Lily swallowed. And she said sometimes, the scariest men are the only ones who ever help you. Then she looked at him. Really looked. Everyone says you're the scariest man in the city, she whispered. Maybe you're scary enough to help me. The room didn't breathe. Christian stared at her, and a crack, small but undeniable, opened in the stone wall around his heart. And the war began in that crack. Christian held out his hand. Give me the envelope. Lily hesitated. Her fingers tightened around it. This was all she had left of her mother. The last thing Amanda had given her. I'll give it back, Christian said quietly. I promise. Something in his voice made her believe him. Slowly, she placed the crumpled envelope in his palm. Christian stood up. He turned it over in his hands. It was worn, stained. The corners were soft from being held too many times. On the front, in careful handwriting, for Lily. When you need help. He opened it. The first thing he pulled out was a photograph. Christian's breath caught. It was old, faded at the edges, maybe 5 or 6 years. A woman standing next to a man outside a restaurant. The woman was smiling, warm, genuine, kind. Brown hair, soft eyes, a face that didn't belong anywhere near the world he lived in. The man was him. Christian stared at his own face. Younger, harder. He barely remembered that night. Some charity event. A restaurant he'd forgotten the name of. A waitress who'd been kind when she didn't have to be. Amanda Adams. He hadn't thought about her in years. Turn it over, Lily whispered. Christian flipped the photograph. The handwriting on the back made his blood run cold. Christian --. If you're reading this, I'm gone. And my daughter found you. You don't remember me, but I remember you. 5 years ago, I made a phone call. Anonymous, untraceable. I told you not to take the highway that night. You listened. 3 of your men didn't. I'm sorry I couldn't save them too. But I saved you. And I never asked for anything in return. Until now. My daughter is all I have. If something happens to me, she'll have no one. The world will forget her. just like it forgot me. But you won't. You're a man who pays his debts. Everyone says so, even the people who hate you. So here's my debt, Christian. Keep her safe. Just once. Just long enough for her to bury me with dignity. That's all I ask. Amanda. Christian read it twice. 3 times. The phone call. 2019. The voice on the other end. Calm. Steady. Certain. Don't take the highway tonight. Trust me. He'd listened. He didn't know why. Gut instinct. Something in her voice. 20 minutes later, 3 of his best men were gunned down on that highway. A Castellano ambush. Perfectly planned. Should have been a massacre. Christian should have died that night. But he didn't. Because a waitress he barely knew made a phone call that saved his life. And she never said a word. Never asked for money. Never asked for protection. Never asked for anything. Until now. Christian looked at Lily. This small, shaking girl in a wrinkled pink dress. Amanda's daughter, the daughter of the woman who saved him. He folded the letter carefully, placed it back in the envelope, handed it to Lily. Your mother, he said slowly, was a very brave woman. Lily nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. I know. Christian closed his eyes. And he was back there. 2019. A cold November night. Rain streaking down the windows of his office. His phone had rung at 11:47 p.m. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. But something made him pick up. A woman's voice, calm, steady, no fear. Don't take the highway tonight. Take the back roads. Trust me. Then she hung up. Christian had stared at the phone for a long moment. His men were waiting downstairs. 3 cars. The highway was the fastest route to the meeting point. But something about that voice. He'd made a decision, called his driver, told him to take the back roads instead. His underboss, Nico, had argued. Boss, the highway's faster. We'll be late. Take the back roads, Christian had repeated. That's an order. Nico had shaken his head, frustrated. I'll take the highway with Sal and Tommy. We'll meet you there. Christian had let him go. 20 minutes later, his phone rang again. This time it was one of his lookouts. Panicked. Breathless. Boss, Nico's car got hit. All 3 of them. Castellano ambush. They're gone. Christian remembered standing in the rain outside the warehouse. 3 body bags. 3 men who'd worked for him for years. Nico had a daughter. Sal had just gotten engaged. Tommy was 26 years old, all dead, because they took the highway. Christian had launched an investigation. Spent months trying to find out who made that call. Who knew about the ambush? Who saved his life? He never found her. The voice haunted him. Some nights he'd lie awake, replaying it. Trust me. Who was she? How did she know? Why did she care? Eventually, he stopped looking. Life moved on. The war with the Castellanos cooled. Other problems demanded his attention. But he never forgot. And now, standing in his bar, looking at a 6-year-old girl with tears on her face, he finally knew. Amanda Adams, a waitress, a single mother, a woman he'd spoken to maybe once in his entire life. She'd risked everything to save him. If the Castellanos had found out, they would have killed her. Killed her daughter. Killed everyone she loved. But she made the call anyway. And she never asked for anything. Not money, not protection, not even a thank you. For 5 years, she carried that secret. Raised her daughter. Worked her job. Lived her quiet life. Until the Castellanos found out what she'd seen. And silenced her forever. Christian opened his eyes. Lily was still standing there, small, scared, holding her mother's envelope like a lifeline. This wasn't charity. This wasn't pity. This was a debt, and Christian Milani always paid his debts. He looked at Marco, then at Sal, then at every man in the room. "Her mother saved my life," he said quietly. "She died because she was brave enough to do what was right." He straightened his jacket. "Now her daughter is asking me to do the same." His voice hardened. "And I will." Christian sent Lily to the back office with one of his men, gave her a sandwich, a glass of milk, told her to wait. Then he called church. The back room of Milani's bar had seen a lot of blood, a lot of decisions, a lot of men who walked in and never walked out. Tonight, it would decide the fate of a funeral. 8 men sat around the table. Christian's captains, his inner circle, men who had killed for him, men who would die for him. Marco spoke first. "Boss, with respect, this is insane." Christian said nothing. "We go to this funeral, the Castellanos will see it as a declaration of war. They killed the woman. They threatened anyone who shows up. If we walk into that cemetery, we're telling them we don't respect their territory." He leaned forward. "You want to start a war over a waitress?" The room was silent. Sal nodded slowly. "Marco's got a point. The Castellanos have been looking for an excuse to move on us for years. This hands it to them on a silver platter." "It's not our fight," another captain added. "The woman's dead. Nothing changes that. Why should our men bleed for someone who wasn't family?" Christian listened. His face was stone. "Anyone else?" Enzo raised his hand. Older. Gray at the temples. He'd been with Christian since the beginning. "I've got something to say." Marco rolled his eyes. "Here we go." "That little girl out there," Enzo said quietly, "walked across the city by herself, walked into a bar full of men who could kill her without blinking, and she asked for help." He looked around the table. "How many of us have daughters? How many of us have mothers? What would we want someone to do if it was our family being buried alone?" "This is business," Marco snapped, "not feelings." "No," Christian said. Everyone turned. "This is honor." He stood up slowly, placed both hands on the table. 5 years ago, I should have died. The Castellanos had an ambush waiting for me on the highway. 3 of our men drove into it. Nico, Sal, Tommy, all dead. His voice was ice. I survived because someone made a phone call, anonymous, untraceable, a woman's voice telling me to take the back roads. He looked at Marco. "That woman was Amanda Adams, the waitress you don't want to start a war over." Marco's face went pale. "She saved my life, never asked for a thing, and now she's dead, murdered by the same family that tried to kill me." Christian's eyes swept the room. "Her daughter is sitting in my office with nobody left in the world, and she's asking me to make sure her mother isn't buried alone." He straightened. "So I'm asking you, if someone saved your life, what would you do?" Silence. "We vote," Christian said, "all in favor of attending the funeral." One by one, every hand in the room went up, even Marco's. Word spread fast. By Thursday morning, every crime family in the city knew. Christian Milani was attending a funeral. Not just attending, he was making a statement. The Castellanos had killed a woman, threatened to murder anyone who mourned her, and now the most dangerous man in the city was calling their bluff. People started talking. At first it was whispers, in back rooms, in barber shops, in the quiet corners of restaurants where men discussed things that never made the news. "Did you hear? Milani's going to war over a waitress. Not a waitress, a woman who saved his life. The Castellanos won't let this slide, then let them try to stop him." By Thursday night, Christian's phone started ringing. The Moretti family called first. Old rivals, bad blood going back 20 years. But even they understood what this meant. "We're not allies," Don Moretti said carefully. "But we respect a man who pays his debts. We'll send 5 men, as witnesses." The Albanians called next, then the Russians, then families Christian hadn't spoken to in years. They weren't coming to fight. They were coming to watch. Because this wasn't just about a funeral anymore. This was about something bigger. Something the underworld hadn't seen in a long time. Honor. A man keeping his word, a debt being paid, a little girl being protected. In a world built on blood and betrayal, that meant something. By Friday morning, Christian had received 47 calls, representatives from families across the city. Some were enemies, some were strangers. All of them wanted to be there. Not for Amanda, not for Lily, for the principal. Marco walked into Christian's office with a list. "Final count," he said. 163 confirmed. Could be more by tomorrow. Christian looked at the number, said nothing. "We've got soldiers stationed at every entrance to the cemetery, snipers on the rooftops of the buildings nearby, armored vehicles for transport." Marco set down the paper. "Boss, this is the most heavily guarded funeral in the city's history, maybe ever." Christian stared out the window. 24 hours ago, Amanda Adams was going to be buried with only her daughter and a priest. Now she would have an army. "What about the girl?" Christian asked. "She's asleep in the back office, hasn't left since you brought her in. One of the guys gave her a blanket." Christian nodded slowly. "Make sure she eats breakfast tomorrow, something warm, and find her a proper dress. Black, something her mother would have wanted." Marco hesitated. "Boss, you know the Castellanos are watching. They know what's happening. They're going to show up." Christian turned around. "I'm counting on it." His eyes were cold, calm, the eyes of a man who had already decided how this would end. "Let them come to that cemetery tomorrow. Let them see what happens when they threaten the wrong family." He straightened his cuffs. "The city is about to remember why they fear the Milani name." Saturday morning, 9:47 a.m. The funeral director had been running services for 32 years. He'd seen everything. Mob funerals, police funerals, funerals where nobody showed up at all. He had never seen anything like this. The first black SUV arrived at 9:15, then another, then another, then a convoy that stretched 3 blocks down the street. Men in black suits stepped out, one after another, faces hard, eyes sharp, hands clasped in front of them. They filed into the parlor in silence, filled every seat, lined the walls, stood in the back 3 rows deep. The funeral director counted them as they entered. 50, 75, 100, 125. He stopped counting at 150. His hands were shaking when Christian Milani walked through the door. The room parted. Men stepped aside without a word. Christian moved through them like a king through his court. And beside him, holding his hand, was Lily. She was wearing a new black dress, simple, elegant. Her hair was brushed, her face was clean, but her eyes were still red from crying. Christian led her to the front row, sat down beside her. His men filled the rows behind them. The funeral director approached on trembling legs. "Mr. Milani, we weren't expecting—" "Begin the service," Christian said quietly. The director nodded, hurried to the front, gestured for the priest. Father Michael had been warned that morning, told to expect visitors. He hadn't understood what that meant until now. He looked out at the sea of black suits, killers, criminals, men who had done terrible things, all here to honor a waitress. He cleared his throat. "We are gathered here today to celebrate the life of Amanda Rose Adams." The eulogy was simple, beautiful. It spoke of a woman who worked hard, loved her daughter, never complained, never asked for help. Lily sat perfectly still. Christian's hand rested on her shoulder. When Father Michael finished, he looked at Lily. "Would you like to say something, child?" The room held its breath. Lily stood up slowly. She walked to the front, turned to face the crowd. 150 men in black suits staring at a 6-year-old girl. She took a shaky breath. "My mommy was brave." Her voice was small but clear. She worked really hard, sometimes 2 jobs. She was always tired, but she never said so. A tear slipped down her cheek. She helped people, even when she was scared, even when it was dangerous. She looked at Christian. She saved someone's life once. She never told me, but I know now. She wiped her eyes. I miss her so much. Every day. But I'm not going to be scared like everyone else. Her chin lifted. My mommy was brave, and I want to be like her. Silence. Then Christian Milani stood and began to clap. 150 men followed. The sound filled the room like thunder, and Lily, for the first time in weeks, smiled. The hearse pulled out of the funeral home at exactly 11 a.m. Behind it, a convoy of black SUVs stretched for nearly a mile. Engines rumbling, windows tinted, every vehicle carrying men who would kill without hesitation. Christian's car was directly behind the hearse. Lily sat beside him. Her small hands folded in her lap, her eyes fixed on the back of the vehicle carrying her mother. She hadn't spoken since her speech, but she wasn't crying anymore. The convoy moved slowly through the city streets, a funeral procession unlike anything this city had ever seen. People stopped on the sidewalks, stared, pointed, pulled out their phones. A shopkeeper stepped out of his store, mouth hanging open. A mother pulled her children close, watching the endless stream of black vehicles roll past. An old man on a bench removed his hat and held it to his chest. They didn't know who was being buried. They didn't know why, but they knew power when they saw it. And this was power. Traffic cops cleared every intersection, not because they were asked, because they understood. You don't stop a funeral like this. You get out of the way. The convoy snaked through downtown, past the courthouse, past the police station, past the very alley where Amanda Adams had taken her last breath. Christian watched Lily as they passed it. Her eyes flickered, her jaw tightened, but she said nothing. Brave. Just like her mother. 6 blocks behind the procession, a gray sedan kept its distance. Inside, 2 men watched through binoculars. Count them, the driver said. I've been counting. At least 40 vehicles, maybe more. The driver cursed under his breath, pulled out his phone, made a call. Boss, it's worse than we thought. On the other end, Victor Castellano listened in silence. Milani brought everyone. I'm seeing soldiers from at least 5 different families. Russians, Albanians, even the Morettis. A pause. What do you want us to do? Victor's voice was ice. Stay on them. Track them to the cemetery and call the others. Boss, there's over 100 men in that convoy, maybe more. If we hit them now. I said call the others. The line went dead. The driver looked at his partner. He's really going to do this. The Castellanos don't back down. You know that. This isn't backing down. This is suicide. The partner shrugged. Not our call. They continued following. 2 blocks back, watching, waiting. At the front of the convoy, Christian's phone buzzed. A message from one of his scouts. Gray sedan, 2 blocks behind, Castellano soldiers. They're tracking us. Christian read it, deleted it, put the phone away. Lily looked up at him. Is everything okay? Christian looked at this little girl, orphaned, alone, trusting him with everything she had left. Everything's fine, he said quietly. We're almost there. The cemetery gates appeared in the distance, and somewhere behind them, the Castellanos were making their move. The cemetery emptied slowly. One by one, the black SUVs pulled away. Men nodded at Christian as they passed. Some shook his hand. Others simply looked at Lily and tipped their heads. Respect for a 6-year-old girl who had stood over her mother's grave without flinching. Soon, only Christian and Lily remained. The grave was covered now. Fresh earth over the casket, a simple headstone that read, Amanda Rose Adams, Beloved Mother, 1989 to 2024. Lily stared at it for a long time. Then she reached into her pocket and pulled out the envelope. Mr. Milani? Christian looked down at her. There's more, in the letter. Her voice was small. Mommy wrote something else, but I couldn't read it. The words were too hard. She held out the envelope. Will you help me? Christian took it. His hands that had done terrible things, trembled slightly as he unfolded the paper. He read silently at first. Then, when Lily tugged his sleeve, he read aloud. If you're reading this, Christian, it means I'm gone, and my Lily found you. He paused. Swallowed. I didn't save your life to collect a debt. I never wanted anything from you. I saved it because I saw something in you that night. Something you've forgotten. Lily listened. Her eyes fixed on his face. I know what people say about you. Monster. Killer. A man without a heart. But I saw the way you looked at that little girl in the restaurant. The one who dropped her ice cream. You bought her another one. You smiled at her. And for just a moment you weren't the man everyone fears. Christian's jaw tightened. I did some research after that night. I learned about your daughter. What happened to her. How you lost her. His voice caught. You lost a daughter once, Christian. Now you can save one. He stopped reading. The words blurred. Please. Give Lily the life I couldn't. Not because you owe me, but because you're more than what they say you are. I believe that. I always did. Amanda. Silence. Christian folded the letter carefully, placed it back in the envelope, handed it to Lily. She clutched it to her chest. What did she mean? Lily asked quietly. About your daughter? Christian looked at this little girl. Curly brown hair, tear-streaked face. Brave enough to walk into a room full of killers and ask for help. Just like his daughter would have been. I'll tell you someday, he said. He held out his hand. Do you like pasta, Lily? She blinked. Pasta? My mother's recipe, best in the city. Secret ingredient. He almost smiled. I'll never tell you what it is. Lily looked at his hand, then at his face. Will you take care of me? Christian knelt down. Eye level, just like the first time they met. Yes. She took his hand. Together they walked toward the car, the most dangerous man in the city, and a little girl in a black dress. He had found the one thing he couldn't buy, threaten, or steal, a reason to be something more.